Welcome to the Pinch to Zoom podcast, the show where we zoom in on the latest tech news, products, and trends. I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe.
And in this episode, we're doing a WAYTQ. We answer your tech questions. We have some great questions that came in from our listeners. So we're going to be discussing various topics ranging from which iPhone should you upgrade to, how you can improve your streaming or conference calling setup, even some discussion about a 360 camera. But first, we have quick news. So Gabe, roll that intro.
Quick news. All right, so first up in quick news, which is, of course, a segment where we talk about the latest new tech news, and what's up next in the world of tech. And we try to keep it quick, but usually it runs a little long. So let's see how we do this time, right?
It's going to be focused. So we've got new products, we've got tech news, and then some rumors. Gabe, start us off with the new products. What did we see between last episode and this episode?
Let's keep it under an hour. First up, we have the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. We talked about this one back in a March episode because it was announced, I think, around then, like end of February, early March. Would have been at Mobile World Congress, but that didn't happen. And now we finally have an actual pre-order date, a shipping date, and a price. So it's available to pre-order June 1st. And if you order it during that time, you will get thrown in the bonus noise-canceling earbuds that Sony has. So that's like a $200 value. That's a nice thing. It's going to hit stores July 24th. So it's coming a little far out. But finally, the last thing is it costs an eye-watering $1,200 for the 256 gigabyte version. That's the only version you get. And I mean, I guess that's not that bad when you compare it to other phones.
It's pretty bad, Gabe. It's pretty bad. Phones basically doubled in price in the last couple of years, if you think about it.
Well, it's mainly, I think, because Sony isn't one of the top brands, right? They're not an Apple. They're not Samsung. So you're buying, I mean, yes, Sony's an incredible brand, but as far as phones go, they're not like, the flagship phone, that.
Well, with that kind of price tag,
itself.
I think they're trying to be.
All right, this is a very enticing phone. Let me just remind people with the specs. A true 4K HDR OLED screen. You can take up to 20 photos a second in burst mode. And the camera, which is a triple camera setup on the back, all 12 megapixels, as well as a 3D time-of-flight sensor, is taking a lot of tech from their cameras like the A7 and even their Pro camera series. And bonus, guess what? Headphone jack. If that's your one thing that you want, it's back, baby.
I like that. I actually do really like that.
So yeah, that'll be an interesting phone to see. I would like to see some reviews from people. I know Sony's already sent out some handsets, so check them out online if you want to see those. Next up, we have another Sony camera, actually, and this is the new ZV-1 camera. Now, this is going to be announced pretty much right after we release this episode,
Tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, the 26th of May, whatever day that is when you're listening to this episode. This camera is geared for vloggers, and pretty much that's it. It's like their RX100 style camera, which is a 1-inch sensor point-and-shoot style, which is very good camera. Very expensive, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, it's about the same price as the phone. I think around $1,200.
Yeah, so if phone or camera,
I would go camera, point and shoot. But this looked exciting.
Phone.
This looked exciting to me because it had a flip-out screen, or at least that was hinted in the image that Sony was releasing for the press event. So
yeah, it looks like it's gonna have a flip-out screen, so you can get kind of the selfie style shot and keep yourself in frame. It's also gonna have a better microphone, so you can more easily record your voice and capture better audio, as well as a mic input. And there's a weird feature that was hinted at in the leaks called bokeh switch, which is like, I hope it's not like turning on horrible software blurring feature.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
Maybe, but I'm thinking also there's a chance that it could just be it puts your aperture at the widest possible setting and is kind of just like a portrait mode type thing.
Even as you say that now, you have this sinking feeling in your heart as it's going to be some awful software thing. All right, Gabe, what's next?
It's making me sick even thinking about that. Next up, we have your favorite thing.
Yes.
And somehow this slipped through the cracks. The Aperture RC RGB smart bulbs, which were announced last year at NAB, or teased last year at NAB 2019, were actually announced again as the new Accent B7C bulbs, and this was back like May 6th, so somehow we missed it. It was about 20 days ago. It was in the end of a live stream of another announcement by Aperture, and they snuck it in there. No tech blogs have really reported it, so this is kind of a scoop we have, because I was like, this is ridiculous that they're not releasing it. Went back through, skimmed through, found them. The here's the down low. Summer 2020 supposedly.
Yeah, that's what they said last year.
Yep. And they're going to be around $60 to $70. And I actually realized some people might not know what we're really talking about. These are essentially smart bulbs like the Philips Hue that are made specifically for filmmakers. So Stetson can attest, when you're using smart bulbs like the Philips Hue, what happens?
They flicker on video because of the refresh rate of the bulb.
Exactly. And they're also, hard to control if you have to always dive into the app and such. And, you'll have to leave your lights always plugged in. So these aperture bulbs have on-bulb controls that you can turn off the light, turn it on, adjust the brightness and such. And you can also take the bulb literally out of the socket, and it has a 70-minute battery life on its max power, or even leave it in the socket and just unplug the light if you can't find a place to plug it in or need to open up the outlet. So very cool lights. They also are geared for not having that flickering issue. So no matter what rate you're filming at, they're using a random kind of refresh rate, so it's never going to sync up and mess up your video. And yeah, hopefully they're actually right about summer 2020.
I'm super excited about them. I'm definitely picking up at least 2 of them the moment they're out.
Finally, 2 more products. We have a lot of new stuff, it looks like, coming out. Samsung T7 SSD is going on sale. This was announced at CES. The TLDR of this is it's a super fast SSD. You get 1 gigabyte read and write speeds, which is insane. That's basically double the speed of the previous generation. It comes in a 500 gigabyte, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte versions at respectively $119, $210, and $360. I've personally already ordered this because I want something to edit videos on, and that's pretty much what this is geared for, is people who want to edit videos or just need really fast SSDs. One thing I actually heard people are using this for is they're connecting it to their gaming consoles and using it to boot up because it's faster than their internal hard drives.
That's hilarious. I didn't even know you could do that, but that's a great use case for that.
Yeah. And finally, we have the Zcam E2 M4. What did I just say?
Yeah. You just spit out like a barcode of a product. Can you describe exactly what this device is?
So Zcam is a company that I think they started around 2017. Their goal was in their Kickstarter, because they were crowdfunded, was to create an affordable cinema camera. And it was, okay. I think it was a bunch of like ex-engineers or stuff from like Red or some cinema company like that. And they're like, yeah, cinema cameras should be more affordable. We can just take all the parts and make our own. So they started out with the first one there. Now they've made many different versions, dozens of them. This new one looks really enticing because it's only $1,500. Granted, it only uses a micro four thirds sensor, but from the GH5 and those cameras, we've seen how good that can be. But it's able to do 4K video internally, 10-bit, and 12-bit ProRes RAW recording over HDMI with an Atmos recorder.
Sweet. I mean, this sounds like a great camera.
So already 2 great things there. Now this is the thing that steps it up. Via a future update down the road, it's actually going to be able to live stream out via Ethernet without the need for a computer.
Holy smokes.
So that's incredible.
Yeah. This is a powerful camera.
And yeah, it's supposed to be out early June, so keep an eye out for that. It's no autofocus because it is a cinema camera, but if you're looking for something and you want to dip your toes into the world of a cinema camera, this is actually a lot more affordable than the Blackmagic? No, it's about the same price,
Pocket.
I guess.
Yeah, I think they're about the same price. Blackmagic 4K, and they also have the Blackmagic 6K.
But this has that 12-bit ProRes RAW recording and 4K 160 FPS internal. So very, very enticing camera. Makes me almost want to think about getting a cinema camera, but I'm still waiting for that A7S III, baby.
Yeah, if it hopefully comes out. I mean, I got my aperture lights, so maybe sometime soon. All right, so next up in news, we have the tech news. First up, DJI actually loses a drone patent fight with Autel, and this could impact their U.S. sales. Basically, what happened here is Autel Robotics, they manufacture a lot of great drones, and they patented...
let's just say they manufacture a couple great drones.
A couple, primarily the Autel Evo.
Debatable.
We'll see. I know I'm a DJI fan. Gabe, you fly DJI, but basically what happened is Autel had this patent for the way a motor would lock in to the drone itself, and apparently DJI kind of copied this patent. I don't know if it was intentional, accidental, could have been developed alongside, and Autel just filed the patent, before DJI, but regardless, this could either mean DJI gives Autel a lot of money, or they could impact the sales of the drones that DJI manufactures that violate this patent. Next up.
Yeah, I do not want to see this because there's been a lot of articles saying that we might not see DJI drones being sold in the U.S. for a while if it goes through.
Yeah,
so.
if this is true. I'm guessing it's just going to be a huge sum of money transfer because like paying that money and keeping one of the biggest drone markets out there is huge for DJI. Next up, Twitter. They are now letting you choose who can reply to your tweets. Have you seen this, Gabe, or heard about this?
I did actually see this. Yeah, it looks like a really cool feature to moderate like how much hate comments people are getting potentially.
Basically, the way it works is if you mention people in a tweet, you have the option to select only those I mentioned can reply. And this basically creates kind of I think it's a private thread. Maybe it's a public thread, but it's
people
only,
can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a public thread, but again, only individuals who are mentioned can reply. So it kind of filters out all of the spam you would get and can create potentially a more meaningful online interaction and a better, more coherent conversation, which I think is what Twitter was going for. Next up, companies are taking the work from home initiative actually quite seriously. So we have companies including Facebook, Google, Zillow, Amazon, Microsoft, and Coinbase announcing that employees will be able to work from home either through October, around October 2nd, or honestly through the end of the year. So I think if you're working at home, you're gonna be still working at home.
Yeah,
and I think
I read a stat where about 1/3 of people living in the cities in the U.S. were looking to move out to more rural areas, and I think that's because of COVID-19 and the kind of people realizing, wow, cities are definitely more vulnerable to that threats in the future. But also now, yeah, if you can work from home, you can work from anywhere. You don't have to be located in the same city as Facebook or whatever huge company you're working for.
I think this will change the workplace culture too. I think it'll just be more accepted, more common, and there will be better systems built and put in place to help facilitate smoother work from home experiences, both for onboarding and for current employees and all of that stuff. Now, speaking of doing work from home, Microsoft actually had their sort of version of a WWDC. They held their Microsoft Build 2020 event. It was a conference for developers. They announced many new things. I'm going to quickly go through a few of them. Here's what you need to know. Microsoft Edge. This is the browser by Microsoft. They now allow a 3D view.
This was kind of the follow-up to their Internet Explorer.
Yeah, well, it's a complete overhaul. And I think we'll touch a little bit more on this in a bit. But basically, you can now have a 3D view in your web inspector so you can see the Z-axis of your web page elements. There's also a new integration with Pinterest. Microsoft announced Microsoft Lists, which is a new productivity and task management app fully integrated into Teams. This actually replaces SharePoint lists. Microsoft also introduced fluid components. And the idea here is instead of having to create a document, you can create sort of an online-based widget that can then be implemented in any document you choose. It's kind of like a Lego block, whether it's a chart or a text block or a to-do list, and you can kind of pop it into your other documents that you're working in.
It's kind of like a little bit I see how like Photoshop, like Adobe works there. You can create a PSD file and then put that into something else. Whatever.
Yeah, kind of, I think.
A little bit, yeah.
It's more like, if you heard of Notion, I think it's kind of a similar idea around that.
Okay.
And finally, I guess finally for what I'm going to talk about, Microsoft is building the 5th most powerful supercomputer with 285,000 processors for their Azure cloud computing services.
Wow, that is quite something. And I know that's Microsoft is really competing right now against Amazon. Amazon has the largest market share of their web services. So doing something like this, a lot of, companies use the web services mainly for just storage and stuff, but more and more it's companies turning to them for processing power, to crunch numbers, to do really detailed analysis. You see all the time MLB uses them for like their overlays and graphics and all their super high res and cool like replays and stuff. So
it's great having more competition in this space. Also, Apple, they just released their new software for iPhones and iPads. This is iOS 13.5, and it includes the exposure notification and tracking system for COVID-19. You do need to have an app to take advantage of this new feature, but it's there. So hopefully soon you can now participate in that tracking if you wish. And finally, Facebook had 3 bits of news here. They have a new AI tool that will automatically identify the items you put up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook is buying Giphy for $400 million. And apparently Giphy is actually, I want to say, the second largest search engine, I believe. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's like...
It's getting pretty big. I remember when it was just like, it was nothing back in the day, just a couple GIFs here and there. And now it's gotten integrated into so many different services. The thing I'm a little worried about is, just like when Facebook bought Instagram and all of a sudden integrations with Instagram and Twitter stopped working and all that different stuff, how many ways is Facebook going to cut off the integrations? Like, for example, when you use iMessage, you got Giphy right there. But guess what Facebook also has that they'd rather promote?
Facebook
WhatsApp.
Messenger.
Or WhatsApp.
Oh.
Even.
Yeah.
Right? So why would they want you to use Giphy in iMessages when they can get you to WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger? So that's why I'm kind of a little bit hesitant about this acquisition. I don't know how it could be prevented because it's not really a monopoly. DoorDash is buying or wants to buy Grubhub. I think I saw, Uber Eats wants to buy Grubhub. And that might get prevented because that's a little bit more like a monopoly. But this, I feel like it's unfortunately going to go through.
We have to wait and see what happens because I don't really know how Giphy makes its money or how Facebook will implement it.
We probably don't make money, honestly. Most companies,
I don't think so.
That's how most companies in Silicon Valley work. They just get users.
And finally, Facebook launched its Bitmoji-like avatars in the US, basically mimicking Apple's Memoji and Snapchat's Bitmoji.
Well, yeah, mimicking Snapchat's Apple's Memoji, who is mimicking Snapchat's Bitmoji. So
there you go.
The train keeps going of mimicking.
And Gabe, what do we have for some rumors?
In our up next part, or what's up next? What are we calling it? What's up next in tech? Which is the
what's up
rumors
next in tech
segment. First off, we had Microsoft Surface Duo. Now, I think in a previous segment we'd mentioned that the Duo and Neo might have been delayed. The Neo is definitely delayed until next year. These are Microsoft's folding devices that they previewed last fall. The Duo, it looks like, will still be announced and released in this fall, but could be a little underwhelming, I think, right?
Yeah, so basically the report that is the specs leaked, and we're seeing, as you would expect, last generation processor, so the Snapdragon 855. Makes sense. Microsoft was working on this last year. Fine, they don't get the new processor. The real disappointment is the battery. Microsoft is reportedly putting a 3,460 milliamp hour battery in this phone, which again has 2 screens. Considering the display of a phone eats up the most battery life, people are concerned this device just won't last that long.
Well, don't the new Samsung S20s have like 4,000 milliamp hour batteries or something?
Yeah. So the baseline Galaxy S20 has 4,000 milliamp hours. So you can tell for a single screen phone to have that much battery life, and then this dual screen phone to have so much less.
They'll just be so dim that you can barely see the screens.
Yeah, exactly.
All the time. And finally, the big rumor, which do you get excited about rumors that are really far out, even if they're super cool?
I can't, because I know when the product is ready, it will be presented in just a so much better way than it's coming out in the leaked format.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't get as hyped. What do you think?
Then don't pay attention to this, because the Apple Glass glasses, which have been supposedly in the works for 5 years or so, have been, there's some more round of rumors coming out. What we know now is that Apple's going to be super unoriginal and call them the Apple Glass. So, wow, congratulations. That's all you can think of.
That was their crack marketing team putting in all the hours right there.
Let's just do what Google did. That works. But yeah, you have to wait a while for these. The earliest they're going to be launched or announced is Q4 of 2021, and more likely Q1 of 2022 or even later. So we're talking at least 1.5 years from the point of this podcast. What we do kind of know about it, and seems to be confirmed from several sources, is they're not actually going to have any camera built in. They kind of want to avoid that so they don't feel as intimidating, right, with the Google Glass look or like the Snapchat
Apple's
spectacles.
very privacy focused, so I can understand that decision.
Yeah, well, it definitely gets into one of the things that was a big issue with Google Glass was people just didn't like that you always could be recording them. So they're no camera. They're going to have a LiDAR sensor, though, and that will help with like the tracking of stuff in place and overlays and such. They will look basically like a regular pair of glasses. They're trying to keep them as minimal as possible, and keep them sleek and refined. And as such, they're going to be actually offloading all the processing to the iPhone that's connected.
Interesting.
So
I wonder if these
kind
will
of
require...
like the first gen Apple Watch a little bit.
I wonder if these will require a newer iPhone to handle that extra processing power, or if they'll look like how far back they'll go in terms of compatibility.
Yeah, I imagine they'll probably require like one of the like last 2 generations when they're released or something like that. And the other thing is they aren't going to have any audio even built in, and it's going to, as such, require being paired with AirPods, which is very convenient that they get you to buy those.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
know they were going to do that.
Yeah,
buy their AirPods.
But it does work. I mean, that makes sense. They have them. Why not just, instead of putting speakers in, which would add bulk to the frames, just make people buy AirPods. So, yeah, I guess put that in your calendar. Put a little notification for like a year and a half from now, that fall. And then maybe you'll be right. And most likely it'll probably be pushed back, though.
All right. So that was our quick news segment. Next, we're moving on to our Go Review segment. Gabe, you want to explain what Go Review is and what you tasked me to review for this episode?
Yeah, Go Review is our segment where we go and review something. And it's not just something we want to do. We actually task the other person. So, I think last week Stetson said, the previous episode before the last episode, Stetson had asked me to review streaming services. So in our last episode, I talked about which streaming services were the best. I compared Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, all the different ones. You can go back and listen to that if you want to. And then after I was done, I said, you know what, Stetson, I did this huge showdown comparison of different digital services. I want you to compare web browsers, because I know personally I've been using Google Chrome for like the past 8 years since I downloaded it for the first time and just haven't looked back since. And I know there's new ones out there. There's Brave. We talked about Microsoft's Edge. Safari's around, or what else is there? I don't really know. So Stetson, what have you done for us? What do you got for our Go Review?
Gabe, thank you for that intro. And this is actually the first Go Review we are filming live. So there'll be a separate
Go Review video version.
Yeah, you can check it out. So you can actually see some visuals to complement the audio format. Of course, this will be designed to be enjoyed in an audio experience. But basically, what it comes down to is Chrome has been, I want to say, the gold standard for quite a few years now. And what made it so great is it replaced Internet Explorer 6. It was faster. It was it was a better browsing experience. And what Google did is they made it so that each tab was its own instance of Chrome. This made it so if one website crashed, the whole browser didn't go down. You could actually keep browsing, close that one bad tab, and it helps make a great experience. However, Google is known and notorious for their tracking, for their advertisements that follow you around the internet with some spooky accuracy. So I did some research. I took a look at all of the latest browsers available today, and we have Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, Brave, and Opera. So that's a lot of browsers.
Yeah, was that 6 or 5? I think that's 6.
6 different browsers.
Wow.
So I'm gonna quickly summarize each, and then ultimately help you decide which browser you should be using. So first of all, Gabe, what do you look for in a browser?
I usually look for it has to look nice. Honestly, that's probably the biggest thing for me. I like something that's, good UI, clean. I do also like a little customization, the ability to put in like my Dashlane plugin so I can get my passwords filled, and like the Rakuten like coupon filler or different things like that I might want. And then I guess also it has to be pretty fast. I don't want something that's like takes forever to load or
exactly.
Noticeably slower.
That's kind of how I feel. So Google Chrome on the onset, it's a super fast browser. It's basically, as I mentioned, the gold standard. However, it consumes all of your computer's power. Each tab you have open is its own instance of Chrome, and that consumes a lot of memory, and it basically depletes your battery. So Chrome works well, and it also tracks you. Like, you're tracked wherever you go on the internet, and that's definitely one of the downsides to using Chrome. So why look elsewhere? You want something with better battery, more privacy, potentially ad blocking, and similar, if not better, performance. So that kind of brings us to Safari. This is the default browser on Mac and also their mobile devices if you have an iPad or iPhone.
Can you get it on Microsoft?
You used to be able to get it on Windows, but they are no longer offering it.
Ooh.
So it's another,
Snap.
I guess, bonus to get a Mac product or an Apple product. And I guess my summary with Safari is it's the default browser. It's fast. It's super secure. Apple does have a strong focus on privacy. You can block cross site traffic and ad tracking and all that stuff. And yeah, it's super fast. It works really well. And if you're signed into your iCloud account, your bookmarks will sync between devices. So already it's hitting pretty much all the boxes you want. But unfortunately, like you mentioned, Gabe, it's not available on Android or on PC. So that
and there's also not a lot of plugins either.
Yeah, there's few plugins. It doesn't really work quite as well. It's kind of a really good baseline, fast, vanilla web browsing experience. If you're looking for something a little bit different, Firefox, they have their own browser, and it's nice, but I noticed some pages didn't actually work properly for my testing. And the other thing, this is weird, Firefox produces a more saturated web page image than all the other browsers. Isn't that weird? That is
strange. That's stranger than it not working with some pages, because I do know that when people are creating websites, they code them for certain web browsers read them differently, and some might not just code their website for Firefox because it has a smaller percentage of users, right? They'll go Safari, Chrome, Edge, or whatever, and yeah, Firefox will be like, whatever.
So it broke my website, so I guess I need to fix that.
Yeah, you got to figure that out. But that saturation thing is really odd.
Yeah, it's just so weird. I was actually perplexed by it. I put up side by side, and I was like, yeah, no doubt, it's more saturated. It's a great browser for sure. They do have a built-in VPN, which is kind of cool. You can sign into your Firefox account and sync your bookmarks and history across your devices. And overall, I'd say it's good. It works. They have the extensions you're looking for, and it's definitely a great option.
And but it's not my cross-device compatible for sure.
Yeah, so you also have it on your iPhone or iPad as well, but it's not my top pick.
Okay.
All right, so next I tried Microsoft Edge. I went into this super sketchy, right? I didn't think Microsoft Edge would be what I wanted, but it actually worked really, really well. Because, get this, Gabe, Microsoft Edge is built off of Chrome.
Yeah, this is the little plot twist in the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, so it turns out basically all of the browsers that I'm going to talk about next, we have Microsoft Edge, we have Brave, and we have Opera. They're all built on Chrome. So Chrome's open source tool is called Chromium, and all those browsers are basically just skins on top of it. So Microsoft Edge, it worked super well. It was super fast. I loved it. You can sign into your Microsoft account to sync everything. You have a reading list. So if you're on the Pinch to Zoom podcast website, you can click a little button and add it to a reading list like you can on Safari. And it kind of helps you organize news and articles that you want to collect. And yeah, it's a great, super fast. I was very impressed with the speed and performance of Edge. So I would give that
it looks pretty nice too, right out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. It's so similar to Chrome that it's easy to migrate to.
Yeah.
Finally, we have Brave. This is interesting because, again, it's basically your standard web browser, but they have built-in ad blocking and cookie tracking. So again, helps with the privacy. And most interesting is you get rewarded. So you actually get Brave rewards, where you get paid in a cryptocurrency called BAT for viewing ads that typically appear on your new tab page or other places on the internet. So,
and the other thing built into that is that you can also add money to your account there through Uphold, I think is the wallet service they use.
Yep.
And you can then set the browser to tip your favorite creators, right? Because the browser blocks ads. But then when you say, for example, if they visit your YouTube channel, they can set it to tip you a certain amount, based on how much percentage they spend on your page, or based on how much they've, if they really like you, they can go, oh, let's give them 20 bats, the basic attention token. And it's an interesting take. I don't know, it doesn't get a lot of people that actually engage in that. I heard a stat that I think 73% or something like that of all the users that they added never actually used the wallet and the crypto part of it, but it's an interesting thing there if you're looking for something
I like
different.
The idea. It reminds me of YouTube Red, where based on which creator you watch more, it kind of disperses your attention. And in this case, Brave is using the attention tokens. My problem, you can't sync it with your mobile device.
Are you sure? Because I heard you can do that.
No, it's broken. I checked their site
really?
today.
Okay.
Yeah. And as of the current version, I think it's 1.3, they had to disable that feature. So your bookmarks and everything currently cannot sync over. But otherwise, it's great. Like, you actually earn money by browsing the web and seeing ads.
Yeah, I earned, the most I earned was 21 BAT, which I think is they're about 19, 20 cents a piece. So that's like $2.20 or something. I don't know. It's not that much, but
hey, it helps out, right? Yeah, better than nothing. And the one thing I will say with all of these browsers is that they have blocking that may actually disable features on certain pages. For example, our podcast page, if you have the shields up, you will not be able to load our podcast player. But if you disable shields on the site, all of a sudden you can see our podcasts and everything works properly. So just something to keep in mind. And lastly, there's Opera. This was an interesting browser because they had kind of a side panel where you can have Facebook Messenger or Instagram just pulled up, ready to go on the side. Made it really good for social media and consuming things. But overall, the quirkiness of this browser in terms of they put the close tab button in a different spot. It didn't feel quite as nice to me. And the social media was just a big distraction. So
a little bit trying to be different for the sake of being different type
thing.
I
mean, that's how I felt. Some people may love it. That's just me. And they do have kind of a workspace idea where you can basically have multiple windows combined into one window, and you switch between them using a sidebar. So yeah, I mean,
that sounds interesting though.
Those are the browsers, and for me, surprisingly enough, I like Microsoft Edge, and I will continue to be using that one along with Brave.
Wow.
And
still, you're basically using Chrome though.
Yeah, basically using Chrome. And the one thing I will plug for Microsoft is they have a slider where you can choose how advanced you want your ad tracking to be, whether it's basic, balanced, or strict. And so that's basically the Go review. And one thing before we get out of here, you can't forget the mobile apps. Of course, all of these are available on all your favorite mobile devices. But the big catch, except for Safari, but here's the big catch. On iPhone and iPad, all the browsers are actually just skinned versions of Safari. They're all using the same. Yeah, they're all using the same WebKit framework.
Oh, so they use the built-in WebKit API or whatever. Yep.
So there you go. So there is no real difference. It's
okay,
just
that gives me no hope whatsoever.
It's just design preference.
Yeah.
But there you go. That is my Go review of the browsers. Gabe, what browser are you using, and what will you continue to be using?
I really mainly use Chrome on my desktop, and then on mobile, I guess Safari usually, though I've been switching to more Brave because I don't want to get as much tracking and stuff, and I do like earning some money off the ads. So I might give the Microsoft Edge a try. You made it sound pretty good. I do have it on my phone, and I've used it a couple times, so it is pretty nice. I'll give him that, and it's nice and sleek, so potentially that. I don't know. Have you made a major switch, or are you kind of sticking with what you knew?
So I'm basically bouncing between Brave to earn the attention tokens and Microsoft Edge, just because of honestly how fast it loads. Like, I really do feel like I noticed that difference, and I like the news collection lists because I feel like I read a lot of news articles and I want to save them, but I don't really have a good solution to that. And
I do like Safari's reading list. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't check that. That's my problem. So,
oh, true.
So there you go. And naturally, we assign each other a new item. So Gabe, for next episode, I'm asking you to go out and review the Mavic Air 2 that just came out. Or of course, we have our good old standby Google Stadia if you want to take a shot at reviewing
Google
that.
Stadia. Well, I already have the Mavic Air 2. I probably should order a new one though, just for this review. Buy a second one because I can't use the same one that I already bought, of course.
Right.
But yeah. We'll get to that in our next episode. You'll find out which one I review. And yeah, I can't wait to go test it out. Thank you very much for your review, Stetson. That was very helpful for me. I know I'd been putting off looking into which web browser I should use for a long time. So now you made that work really easy for me. And hopefully you made it easy for our viewers as well. Moving on, we have our horribly acronymed and titled segment, WAYTQ, or We Answer Your Tech Questions. And yeah, this is exactly what it sounds like. We answer your tech questions that you submit to us either via email, Twitter, Instagram, pretty much any way. Send a carrier pigeon with a little note attached, and we'll take it that way as well. So what do we have up for our first question, Setson?
So first question actually comes from my friend Carly. We were talking yesterday, and Carly asks, I have an iPhone 6s. Should I upgrade to the new iPhone SE, or what is a good iPhone to upgrade to? I think this is a great question because the iPhone 6s came out basically 4 years ago. I remember it was the fall of 2019. So basically like right around, of 2015. So then it was basically like the 2016 iPhone for the most of it. And so it's like 4 years old, and I bet the battery is going. So, the new iPhone SE came out. It's only $400. Is this a good upgrade? Gabe, I mean, do you have any initial thoughts? Like, what would you upgrade to in this kind of situation?
Well, the big thing you mentioned is the battery. Like, that's a huge reason to upgrade, honestly.
And
most
the camera.
Of the time. Well, I was just thinking, like, because, all right, if you're going to replace the battery, say you wanted to keep your iPhone 6, you replace the battery, isn't that usually like $100?
Yeah, it is kind of expensive, actually. I think it's like $100 to $130.
Yeah, so you look at that price, that's already almost a quarter to a third of the price of an iPhone SE. So, yeah, I mean, maybe you could go with an iPhone 8 or something like that. The thing I mean, the iPhone SE is really great that they now are using the newest processor, right? So it's not held back in any way. But the thing I actually found out that made me a little less interested in the iPhone SE is the fact that it still uses like the old school swipe up from the bottom control center rather than the ones where you go from the top, because I guess it's just, because it uses the touch button that they do it that way. I'm not quite sure, but that's a little bit of a downside. Maybe I would try to get someone to find a slightly used iPhone 11.
I would actually say
600.
The iPhone 10, if you're looking at that $400 price point, the iPhone 10 gently used is around the same price as an iPhone SE. And I mean,
but a slightly older processor though.
Well, I don't know. The iPhone 10 was a flagship phone when it came out. So you're getting the modern design. You're getting Face ID for face unlocking. You're getting 2 cameras that can do portrait mode and get some really great images still. And I think the processor, like the A11 Bionic, was still a really fast processor when it came out, combined with the more modern design, the bigger battery, and the more beautiful display, along with 3D touch. My opinion, that's what I'd go for. I would opt for the gently used iPhone 10 or even 10s.
I guess it comes down to if you like the smaller size though of the the iPhone, the previous versions like the 6 and such. The SE is more along those lines. If you want something bigger, then yeah, I think I'd go with the 10s. Even that'd be a little more expensive, a used version of that, or even the 10.
I think it would last easily just as long, and
well, we're both using 10s's, so
yeah, I'm set. I'm ready to keep this phone for the next 4 years. Believe it or not.
I don't know about that. Okay. What's up? What's our next question?
Next question comes from Andrew. He asks, "How can I improve my home conferencing calling setup?"
Oh, this is topical for sure. We probably honestly I feel like we wouldn't have gotten questions like this a year ago.
I mean, I don't
thinking about this.
People weren't really doing it, and
like,
Apple,
my computer has a webcam. I'm good.
Yeah, that's good, right? You're using your webcam, right, Gabe?
For my one conference call a year, this is all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 2 things I can think of is you need probably a better webcam. I wouldn't even put that up there because I would say the biggest thing is audio, right?
I agree with that. I think, all right, well, first up, lighting. Like if you can sit and position yourself in a better spot of your house with brighter lighting. Yeah, sit by a window.
And by sit by a window, we mean sit so you are facing a window or a bright light source. Don't put that to your back so that you're just a little shadow.
Exactly. Gabe, that is a great description. If the window is behind you, you will be a black outline. If you sit so you are facing the window, not only do you get a great view, but the sunlight will stream in onto your face. You will be much better lit. People will be able to see you better. It will look so much more professional. And then, Gabe, you mentioned audio.
Yeah, audio, I mean, we've talked about it before in just for videos and making videos, but audio is by far the most important thing when it comes to conveying quality and production value. So if you have a limited budget and you don't feel like I'm not the type of person who wants to invest $300 in getting good video conferencing call, just so my boss can think, better of me, then I'd really just look at getting possibly a USB mic, Something like, the NT-USB Mini from Rode. I think that's about $100. There's also some ones by Blue Yeti that are even less. Like, you can easily get a very good USB microphone for under $100 or so. So that's where I would go.
That's a great way to step up your audio quality. And that's actually more important, I think, than video, because some of these calls, you don't necessarily need to have your camera on. So just getting clear audio quality will make you sound so much better. It will make the experience so much better.
Maybe better internet would be the other thing, I guess.
So
you're not the one who's always lagging on the video calls.
Right. Next question actually kind of relates to this to some degree, I think. And it's from Leslie. What is the best laptop for my kid for learning at home? And I think this kind of ties in because you want a laptop with a built-in camera and microphone, of course, just to support conferencing right off the bat. But Gabe, like, what other attributes do you think people should look for if they're considering a laptop for their kid or for someone younger?
Well, you probably want something that's not too expensive, I imagine. Though, really, what the definition of too expensive would vary per person. But I know Chromebooks have been very popular among
100%.
children and among people in the learning fields because they're fairly inexpensive. Google offers a ton of suite of apps for free that, from Docs to Drive to now what is it? Not Hangouts. What they call
Google Meet?
Google Meet
or Google Duo.
Well, Google Duo and Meet are the two different ones. And yeah, I think Chromebooks are a very good place to start. We talked about it in the last episode as well. If you're looking for something from Microsoft, the new Surface Go 2 is a good kind of tablet and laptop crossover that's starts at $400, and it seems like a pretty good thing for someone. You get the Microsoft Office suite there, which is very good. So that's what I'd go for. Apple products does it seem more expensive? Like, I guess you could go with an iPad, maybe would be the most accessible way to do an Apple computer.
If you need, I would almost go used for this. Like, buy an Apple computer used, because getting the laptop will be so much more powerful than the iPad. But otherwise, depending on the age of the child, you may consider splurging a little bit for the MacBook Air and just saying, hey, this is going to last you the next 4 to 5 years, whether it's going through college or going through high school.
At least 4 to 5 years. I mean, Apple products are very well known, and they're more expensive because they do last. I mean, my dad had his laptop, which is 11 years old, and he just now ordered a new MacBook Pro 13-inch. So that's a pretty good cost to use ratio.
I agree with that. And, Apple's definitely great with their support if anything goes wrong, and they're usually really good with overnight shipping and everything. So I don't know. Right. It's expensive, but those are some recommendations depending on your budget.
We're not very good at our laptop knowing the product numbers. That's something I think we can improve on. We'll have to do some more research for future episodes. Next question we have kind of relates back to the conference calling a little bit, but someone who's looking to start streaming on Twitch. She says that she knows we're not gamers, but what gear do she think someone would get when they want to start streaming on Twitch? And yeah, some tyranny emailed in. Obviously, yeah, we're not gamers, so we're not going to talk about.
Wait until Gabe's Go review of Google Stadia.
Okay, yeah, hold on. Well, yeah, but we're not going to talk about the software and the overlays and all that different stuff for Twitch. Let's just talk about what you need gear wise for if you want to start streaming on. Well, then not just Twitch, I guess YouTube, gaming, Mixer, whatever service you want to use.
I mean, I think
it's you got to start with the basics, right?
Yeah.
So you need some sort of camera.
Okay, camera,
USB
check.
mic.
Yep, check.
You need a light of some kind.
Check.
And then you need a background. And background, I don't mean necessarily green screen, but just you need something that looks visually nice behind you.
What's interesting is a lot of software will now actually allow you to Photoshop out or it will green screen yourself automatically. And so if you take a picture from the perspective of your computer and then enhance that image in some way, maybe you add in some lights in the background or you Photoshop in some RGB lights, that's an easy way to give the appearance of a really cool background while not actually having to have any of that stuff set up all the time. And frequently when you're streaming, your image is smaller to allow the gameplay to fill the screen.
You're usually
so it
a
doesn't
tiny
matter.
little thing in the corner.
Yeah. So I think that's a great little life hack. And again, you're going to be on camera for this, so it does make sense, in my opinion, to upgrade to something a little bit nicer than typically the 720p webcams that are built into at least Apple computers, from my experience.
Well, I would say more that it's good to upgrade because that way you can give a little bit of a different position rather than you looking straight at the camera. You can give a kind of off angle, which is generally what I see when people are streaming. They don't usually have kind of a straight on shot. It's more slightly off axis. And that you can use either a webcam for that, or I know even Canon, since this whole COVID thing, they've been, I probably other camera makers have been doing it, but Canon, I've seen a lot of ads about how they've been releasing some software and updates for their cameras, like the EOS M50, their mirrorless one, and the RP, and even the EOS R, where you can actually now connect it to your computer and stream right from your camera, actually, and use that as your, which is great if you have a DSLR sitting around or mirrorless.
That's a great way to get really, really nice quality. And then, yeah, you mentioned the audio. So I think that's probably kind of where you'd start, almost the same as for your home conference calling.
Yep, yeah. Go again. We're not sponsored by Rode, but they do make good microphones.
It's true, they do.
Blue by Yeti sure makes some good ones. I know Mackie actually just came out with some new USB mics as well. Audio Technica was my first microphone. The AT2020 still a very good USB mic. So there's plenty out there. Really just look at what your favorite streamers are using maybe, or what's on sale. Audio gear lasts forever, so you don't always necessarily have to have the newest and latest and greatest. I would say for lights. Now, lights is a very interesting thing.
Yeah, what do you think?
There's two different ways to go. One is you do no lights, you're in complete black now. Now, one way is if you're in a smallish space, you can go with smaller LED lights. Now, this is like Lume Cube has some small little, I think they called them the Cube Air or something like that. I'm not quite sure. They're like smaller rechargeable lights. You can connect them up. You could also go with something from Aperture, like those little light panels. That's one way. The thing I would probably recommend more is to get either one or two fluorescent soft boxes. And these are fairly inexpensive. You can usually get two of these for under $100 on Amazon or B&H. And what I would look for is try to go with a somewhat reputable brand. Like, these are electronics, that have power. You don't want something melting down or catching on fire, right? And look for something that also has probably like 4 fluorescent bulbs at least in it, maybe 2. But the one I usually find is if it just has 1 bulb in it and the softbox, not really bright enough to do anything. So look for at least like 2 bulbs or maybe even 4. And yeah, those are very good. And then if you have enough space, you can just leave those set up. And it doesn't matter that they're very cheaply made because you're not taking them down a lot.
I would also add to the audio bit, you could invest in just like sound panels or maybe acoustic blankets, or heck, just bringing in your blankets or comforters from around the home to help absorb some of that audio.
We've done that, I know, many times.
Yeah, we have on the podcast. And to my surprise, it actually works really, really well. And even with a lower quality mic, it can help boost your overall audio quality that much more.
Or even I'm thinking a gaming mic, if you have a headset too, could work.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Depending on your setup. And then finally, background. Yeah, you already mentioned that. I like that suggestion you had about, just taking an image of your background and then just putting in some cool settings. A lot of people do green screens because you get a better, chroma key and cutout that way. And the other thing is, if you're doing it in your house, in your office studio type thing, maybe invest in getting some nice RGB lights and cleaning it up, making it look nice, because when you're not streaming, it will also look nice for you. So.
And it could be repurposed for if you start a YouTube channel or you do any other kind of creative work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, can they look for seeing you on Twitch now streaming?
They cannot. They cannot.
Yeah, okay, not. All right, finally, last question here. Now, this is something I've been really interested in, 360 cameras. I've been talking about these for a while. And this person says that she recently saw a cool video by the Carolina Panthers promoting their 2020 schedule, and it looked to be shot on a 360 camera, and it convinced her that her next big purchase should be on a 360 camera, or next camera purchase. And she goes on to say, which one should she get without spending over $500? This is from Natalie. And I actually did. She sent along that video. I saw it, and you sent it to you.
I was
incredible. It is really. I already have a 360 camera. It makes me want to go out and shoot more with it. If you haven't seen this video, just Google Carolina Panthers 2020 schedule announcement or something like that. And it's shot incredibly well with, transitions, very well thought out. Yeah, it's hard to explain. Just go watch it. It'll inspire you creatively or just blow your mind if you don't understand how it's made. But yeah, which 360 camera should someone get if they're looking for something under 500? Because they do get a bit pricey, that is for sure. I would recommend currently either the GoPro Max or the Insta360 One R. Now, Insta360, that's kind of in their name.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you would expect it to be their focus, their main point, their primary well-performing camera.
yeah, I would think, and I probably would recommend them over GoPro if their flagship camera technically is the Insta360 One X. However, that camera is about a year and a half old now. It's still a very good camera, and you can get it on sale, so it's actually even more enticing. But I know they're going to be releasing one probably this fall or so. So that's kind of what makes me think, look at the GoPro or their newer crossover / module camera, the Insta360 One R. The GoPro is more expensive. I will say it's $500 for the GoPro 360 Max. I think that's now what they're calling it. I really do like GoPro software. However, Insta360 came up. They started doing 360 stuff. That's how they got their name. That's how they started. So they really have a lot more innovative things, especially if you're doing via like mobile. And their software on the computer is getting better and better with every iteration. So
They do really good.
I would probably
auto
push
edits.
for the Insta360 unless you really like GoPro and you've been wanting a GoPro camera. In that case, you can use the 360 Max just like a regular GoPro camera, and just only use one lens. So, yeah,
It's interesting how the software does play a role in that, and
well, it's so much because you shoot it and you just shoot everything, and the software is actually how you really shoot it again, kind of, right?
and reframe everything exactly. So that's interesting. I think I would lean towards Insta360. I'm intrigued with what they have to offer, and I've seen Potato Jet actually on YouTube did some really cool promo videos for them, and the way the software is able to go through the footage and kind of highlight certain things, in my opinion, makes it easier to create something that's visually appealing and also unique without having to really dive into advanced 360 video editing, which can be more daunting to some people.
Yeah, I'll also say there's this guy I follow on Instagram, and he's also on YouTube. His name is Hugh Ho. I think it is HUGH.HOU. He has some really cool tutorials on 360 videos, some aerial 360 videos. Yeah, just very cool stuff. Check him out if you want to get more inspired about 360 videos and 360 filmmaking. But this is the future, so if you've been looking for something to add that pop, add a little creativity to your videos, I would recommend a 360 camera. So,
all right,
yeah.
There you go. And if you're interested in submitting your questions and getting featured on a future episode of the Pinch to Zoom podcast, you can submit them on Twitter at Pinch to Zoom Pod, Instagram at Pinch to Zoom Podcast, and of course our website, pinchtozoompodcast.com. And I think that's going to be it for this episode. So thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. That really helps support the show. And yeah, I'm Stetson.
I'm Gabe. AskMeYourTechQuestions.com.
And we look forward to talking to you in the next episode.
Wait, so I'm a website, I guess? Is that what I've
Yeah,
now
you just
become?
ended on a website. I wasn't sure how to react to that. You just like, all right, I'm a website now. Now you have to buy the domain.
Congratulations, I'm now a website. Oh no, someone parked me. No.
Oh no.
Help.
If it's just me on the next episode, this is why.